Welcome back to the Chattable podcast, where we learn real English in real life, enrich vocabulary, and feel proud.
Yeah, we are so glad you're here with us.
We really are. So imagine a serious, tie-wearing journalist reporting on a devastating global energy crisis. And right in the middle of a dense explanation about, liquefied natural gas and supply chains, they casually drop a magic word from a 1950s cartoon.
Which is kind of wild to think about, but it happens all the time.
Right. So today, our mission for this episode is to take two fascinating, heavy-hitting vocabulary phrases pulled directly from real-world news sources. We're going to unpack their surprising historical origins and explain exactly how to use them in your daily life.
Because for you, the listener, mastering these nuanced words is like the ultimate shortcut to sounding like a native speaker.
Exactly. It's the best way to avoid those awkward conversational missteps where you use a word that technically means the right thing, but it just feels completely tone deaf for the actual situation.
Yeah, which happens so often when we just memorize dictionary definitions, without understanding the cultural weight behind the words.
Right. So let's get right into it. Our first term centers around the word harbor, and we're going to look at how this word surfaced in a recent, rather intense political news story.
Okay, lay it on me.
Here is the exact sentence from our source notes. Gregory Bovino, Trump's former poster child for mass deportation campaign, harbored hardline, radical views on immigration and wanted to deport 100 million people.
Wow. That is undeniably a heavy, highly charged sentence.
It really is. And before we go a single step further, I need to explicitly pause here and state for you that we are entirely impartial.
Absolutely.
We are not taking any political sides regarding this quote or the politician mentioned or the policies themselves. Our focus on this episode is strictly analyzing the vocabulary word harbor as it appears in this real-world context.
I'm really glad we set that baseline because, looking purely at the mechanics of the language, the way harbor operates here is actually quite beautiful if you trace it back to its physical origins.
Right, because my brain immediately goes to the ocean. I picture sailboats, seagulls, and wooden docks.
As it should. That is the foundational literal definition. For centuries, a harbor was exclusively a noun.
Like a physical place on a map.
Exactly. It's a safe, enclosed body of water where vulnerable ships park to protect themselves from terrible ocean storms.
Oh, right.
Think about the physical properties of a harbor. It often has these massive stone breakwaters. The water inside is deep, still, and entirely separated from the chaotic, dangerous environment of the open sea.
So it is the ultimate physical refuge.
Yeah, it really is. But over time, the English language did what it always does. It stretched that concrete noun into an active verb. It came to mean to give shelter to.
Oh, okay. So that bridges the gap to phrases we hear in, true crime documentaries, like harboring a fugitive.
Precisely. If the authorities are actively hunting for a dangerous criminal and you intentionally hide that person in your basement.
Yikes.
Right, bad idea. But if you're feeding them and keeping them out of sight, you are harboring a fugitive. You are acting as the physical breakwater.
Oh, wow.
You're providing physical shelter to something that society says shouldn't be protected.
Okay, let's unpack this. If I am understanding the cognitive leap correctly, using harbor psychologically is like building a mental fortress to protect a dark ship.
I love that analogy.
But I have a question. Since a physical harbor protects things from storms, which is universally considered a good thing, why do we almost exclusively use the psychological harbor for negative or heavy concepts?
That's a really sharp observation.
Yeah, we say someone is harboring a grudge, harboring doubts, harboring resentment. Why is the mental version always so dark?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the negativity comes directly from the psychological weight of secrecy.
Oh, secrecy.
Right. When you harbor a thought, you're giving shelter to a secret emotion or opinion inside your own mind, and you're intentionally keeping it hidden from the outside world. And if you look at human nature, the things we bury deep down aren't our joyful, lighthearted thoughts.
Right. We share our joy. We broadcast our happiness.
Exactly. The things we hide, the things we need to build mental breakwaters to protect, are our fears, our deep-seated resentments, and our socially unacceptable opinions. Harboring requires depth, time, and secrecy.
So it's not just a passing thought that flits through your brain.
No, not at all.
It's something that lives down there in the dark, dropping an anchor.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize it. Let's look at a highly relatable everyday example from our source notes to show how this works, outside of politics.
Okay, let's hear.
Imagine it's a brilliant international student. They just got accepted into a highly competitive university like MIT or Columbia.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right. And on the outside, everything looks flawless. They have perfect grades. Their family is throwing parties for them. Everyone is celebrating their massive success.
Sure.
But internally, as the departure date gets closer, they might quietly harbor a deep fear that the culture shock will be too much to handle.
Oh, wow. The contrast there is staggering.
Yeah. And they can't say it out loud because of the immense external pressure to succeed, so they're forced to build a little mental port to hide that fear from their parents and friends.
And think about the energy it takes to maintain that mental port.
Exactly. That is the essence of harboring. It is exhausting. And because the word inherently carries that level of psychological depth and secrecy, there are absolutely wrong ways to use it.
Okay, give me an example of what not to do.
Well, you don't use this word for fleeting or lighthearted thoughts.
So, I'm guessing I cannot harbor a desire to order a slice of pizza for lunch today.
You absolutely cannot. If you tell a native speaker you are harboring a craving for pizza, they will look at you like you have two heads.
Good to know.
Yeah, you don't harbor a quick idea about what movie to watch, and you certainly don't harbor a craving for a slice of pizza. The word is simply too big, too heavy, and too serious for a passing whim.
It demands a certain level of internal gravity.
Exactly.
Which actually creates a really fascinating transition for us. Because while harboring is all about how we internally hide a heavy, lingering burden, our next phrase describes what happens when those burdens hit us externally, all at the exact same time.
It is the stark difference between a quiet internal storm and a very loud, sudden external crash.
Exactly that. And that brings us to our second phrase for this episode, which is a highly informal, incredibly colorful idiom, the double whammy.
Oh, I love this one.
Me too. Let me read the target sentence from our sources. Keep in mind, this is once again a dense, deeply serious news quote about global economics. Here we go. The energy crisis as a result of the Iran conflict is a double whammy, not only instantly cutting down oil and gas supplies to the global market, but also triggering a surge in fertilizer prices due to a sudden shortage of liquefied natural gas, which is a key source material in fertilizer manufacturing.
I mean, that sentence is an absolute mouthful.
It really is.
You've got major geopolitical conflict, global supply chains, agricultural implications, and sitting smack in the middle of all that academic gravity is this bizarre, goofy slang phrase, double whammy.
It feels completely jarring. It's like wearing a bright red clown nose with a tailored tuxedo.
That's a great image.
Right. Why would a serious journalist writing about liquefied natural gas use a word like whammy? Where does that even come from?
Well, this is genuinely one of my favorite linguistic origin stories of all time, because it shows how pop culture infiltrates professional vocabulary.
Oh, tell me everything.
So the word whammy was actually popularized in the 1950s by a massive American comic strip called Little Abner.
Wait, really? A newspaper comic strip? We are talking about global energy crises, and the vocabulary comes from the Sunday Funnies.
It does. In the world of Little Abner, there was a specific character named Evil Eye Fleagle.
Evil Eye Fleagle! You can't make that up.
I know, right? And Fleagle had a superpower. He could put a whammy on someone just by staring at them with one eye. A whammy was essentially a magical curse or a bad luck spell that would instantly incapacitate you.
Okay.
But if Fleagle really wanted to destroy someone, he would exert maximum effort, stare at them with both eyes, and unleash a double whammy.
Oh.
Yeah, it was an exceptionally powerful compounding curse that was almost impossible to recover from.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We have a goofy 1950s comic strip magic spell being deployed by serious modern-day journalists to describe the compounding effects of a global energy crisis.
It's wild, isn't it?
It is wild to me, but I have a challenge for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
If it just means two things happening at once, can I use it if I get a promotion at work and win the lottery on the same day? Like, honey, I just got hit with a double whammy of good luck.
Oh, that's a great question about the rules of engagement for this phrase. But the answer is an emphatic no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you absolutely cannot use it for positive events. That would be a win-win or a double blessing.
Ah, because the ghost of the original comic strip curse is still there.
Exactly. The magic is gone, but the negative punishing impact remains permanently baked into the definition. It must be a situation where one bad event causes another, or two negative things compound a problem simultaneously.
So it's all about the compounding nature of the damage.
Right. Let's ground this in an everyday example from our notes that perfectly captures that specific 1-2 punch feeling.
Okay.
Let's say a teenager from abroad is flying to the U.S. to attend a top-tier public high school in New York City or Los Angeles.
High stress already.
Right. They finally get to their connecting airport, and their flight is abruptly canceled due to a massive, unexpected snowstorm.
Oh, man. That's the first hit.
That's the first hit.
Yeah.
But then, on that exact same day, while dealing with the chaos at the customer service desk, they reach into their bag and realize they have lost their international passport.
Oh, my goodness. That is a visceral nightmare. I'm stressed just imagining that.
It is the textbook definition of an absolute double whammy. The snowstorm is the first massive hit, and losing the passport is the second compounding hit.
That paints such a clear picture. But let me boundary test this a little bit, because we are talking about two bad things happening simultaneously.
Okay.
Is there a limit to how serious the situation can be? For example, could a doctor walk into a waiting room and say, "I'm sorry, your husband suffered a double whammy of a severe heart attack and a massive stroke"?
Oof. No. Absolutely not.
Okay, I figured that felt wrong.
Yeah, and I am incredibly glad you brought that up, because it highlights a vital warning about this phrase. Because of its cartoonish, comic strip roots, double whammy sounds fundamentally casual. It is entirely inappropriate for true, profound grief. You must never use it for deeply traumatic, life-altering tragedies, like losing 2 family members in a crash.
So it would be shockingly tone-deaf.
It actively trivializes the grief.
Yeah.
You have to match the register of your vocabulary to the reality of the room. A double whammy is for highly stressful logistical problems, like a global supply chain crisis or a travel nightmare at the airport.
That is such a vital distinction to make for anyone learning the nuances of English.
Yeah, it really is.
So what does this all mean? We started this episode with a mission to equip you, the listener, to describe complex difficulties with total confidence.
And look at the nuanced tools you now have.
Exactly. If you need to describe a quiet, hidden fear or a lingering doubt that someone has been guarding for years, you know exactly how to describe them harboring that thought.
Keeping it safe from the storms of public opinion?
Right. And conversely, if you need to describe a sudden, compounded disaster where everything goes wrong externally at the exact same time, you know exactly how to deploy a double whammy.
Provided, of course, that it is not a profound human tragedy.
And provided you aren't just talking about a craving for a slice of pepperoni pizza.
Right. Those are the golden rules. But, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to ponder based on our source material today.
Oh, I love a final thought.
Isn't it fascinating how the English language carries the invisible ghosts of its past?
Oh, wow, the invisible ghosts.
It's true. Think about it. When you harbor a grudge, you are literally invoking centuries of maritime history. You're instinctively building a mental port to keep a dark ship safe.
You're doing it without even realizing you're thinking about the ocean.
Exactly. And when you complain to your friends that a stressful day at work was a double whammy, you are accidentally casting a 1950s comic strip magic spell.
That is wild.
It makes you wonder how many other everyday phrases are secretly hiding centuries of history or vintage pop culture right beneath the surface.
That is a brilliant point to end on. Our words are so much deeper and sometimes so much weirder than they appear. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and going on this journey with us.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
We hope you feel a little more equipped and ready to use these incredible phrases out in the real world. Keep learning, keep enriching your vocabulary, and we will catch you on the next one.